Welcome, Berrnie Saunders. Thank you so much for being on Ordinary Visionaries. Great to
Pleasure,
have you
Robert.
here.
Great to be with you. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. And the first question we ask on Ordinary Visionaries is, how are you an ordinary visionary?
I think I'm an ordinary, extraordinary visionary.
Yes.
The reason I mean by that is that I do have a thread in my vision, and it has to do simplistically to be creative and innovative anytime whatever comes into my world. And so from that visionary perspective, I have done really, really well. I don't think there is in a traditional ordinary definition of one ordinariness, if there is such a word. Okay.
Right.
And so I think I'm able to judge myself and my skills and what I have to offer people. And the visionary piece is I have never, ever had a business plan. Never.
Okay.
And what happens is I get serendipitous, unexpected invitations from people, like the chemical dependency piece. I was not looking for that, but I got invited by a director of a large mental health facility. And there was something, I don't know what it was, but there was something she saw and she hired me.
So did you have any background in that field of working with people with chemical dependency?
Not working with them. I have a background in alcohol and drug issues. My grandfather was an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic.
Wow.
And so I had that background, but did that prepare me to go into the fray of working with drug addicts and adolescents and et cetera? No way. But I did really, really well, and very, very visionary with it. I started the first chemical dependency high school in the country.
So this is a high school for kids who had chemical dependency or trying to get off of drugs?
They had been through treatment, and we were either they were going through treatment or they were going through treatment at that time.
Wow.
That was in the treatment days when they did 60 to 90 days, and they don't do that anymore. The insurance companies have killed that. So things like that. So a visionary part is it's always there. It never.
So let's talk about that. So you were in the Peace Corps to begin with. You started your career in the Peace Corps.
I did.
So that was what, a 2-year stint or?
That was longer? 2 years. Yeah, 2 years in the Philippines. In the Philippines. Yep. Yeah.
What did that give you?
Oh, it gave me. I never did well in school. I hated school, and it hated me. And I never did well. I always thought that I never fitted in. I hated, I did really well in typing class in high school, but when it came to anything other than geometry, I aced that. But that was about it. And college was really painful, academically. Socially, it was fantastic. I loved it. But academically, it really struggled. And then I got invited to the Peace Corps in '65 when it was brand new. And I went off to this little village back in the boonies in the Philippines, and I loved it. It was, I found my footing where I really fit in, and it really worked great for me. It really transformed how I saw Berrnie Saunders. And
so was it the people, working with the people, projects, all of it? What about it was exciting for you?
They wanted me to teach modern math. Those were the days that they had this modern math model that was going to revolutionize the educational system. Yeah, whoopee, how's that going?
That's pretty funny, since you didn't really like school, and here you are teaching new math in the Philippines. That's interesting.
In 1965, they told you what you were going to do. And so for some reason they saw something in me that even though academically it was really kind of pathetic, it was on probation, off probation, on probation, the whole year. And they said, we want you to be a teacher. I went, okay, let's do that. And so I did that. And then I got involved in rice production. I got involved with the International Rice Research Institute, and they were doing miracle rice. And so I got invited. Someone came to me and said, we'd like you to go to this institute to learn about rice production. So I did. And so I did teaching and rice for the 2 years.
Right.
And it was great. I loved it. Even with all the illnesses that I had and, the heat and the rain and blah, blah, that was all incidental. That was sort of beside the point. So I found my footing for the first time in my life. And it was revolutionary. It was.
So what did you discover about yourself in the Philippines?
I was really smart. I was really smart. That I had really good, wonderful, excellent people skills. And that I had a really deep creative ability to figure things out creatively.
Yeah.
And when I merged all of those things together for the first time in my life, I felt who Berrnie Saunders really was.
Yeah.
And it was the beginning of a wonderful journey, ins and outs, ups and downs. And it really was a spark. Yeah.
So you got back from the Philippines, ready for bear, I guess. What's next for me? Is that when you with the chemical dependency high school, or was that later?
Oh, that's later on.
So you don't have to go through everything in your career, but what are some of the things where you had a vision for something, you had an idea, or what you said I thought was interesting. Things just came to you. So what was the next thing that came to you?
I was teaching third grade in a Catholic school. Okay, so I fell in love with the first grade teacher, and we got married, and we're still together. 55 years later, we're still hanging out and laughing.
Congratulations!
Thank you, and laughing about it all the time. Like, really? Okay, because we're two totally different people, and totally backgrounds, and totally different. Anyway, so I was grumping about the Catholic Church. So I ended up going to a Catholic institution in Berkeley. I got accepted to this program at Berkeley for a Jesuit school, a 2-year Jesuit school, about becoming a coordinator, a religious education coordinator. Did I want to do that? I didn't know. I didn't know what that meant, but I got accepted.
You weren't even a religious type person, were you? Were you a Catholic?
No. I was raised strict Catholic. Oh my God.
You were?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Which I rebelled against starting about 13, 14 years old.
Right. I can relate.
Yeah. And a lot of people can relate. They go, yeah, really? Yeah. So I got accepted to this, and I got a job in St. Paul working as a religious education coordinator. And that's where the chemical dependency piece came in. Shortly after that, that's when I got invited by somebody at a party who said, we're looking for someone to run this program. Would you be interested? Tell me more. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's how that got started.
So it seemed interesting to you. So how long were you working in the chemical dependency field?
I worked in that program for 2.5 years, and then I got hired as an executive director for a halfway house for 16 to 21-year-old hardcore drug addicts.
Wow.
And I worked another 3.5 years in that. And then that facility was a part of a larger mental health facility, and they got bought out by another company. And then I was invited 2 weeks later to depart from my job.
Yeah.
On a Friday. And so, which was sort of mixed. I loved the work. It was great and very intense, 365, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You never knew when the phone was going to ring,
So before you get into your next step, I want to talk a little bit about working with people in chemical dependency.
Sure, yeah.
So what did you learn about yourself and about people doing that job?
That people are absolute, and I knew this before, but it really came clear, because when you're dealing with a drug addict or an alcoholic, is that there's not much ambiguity. Either they're going to live or they're going to die.
Wow.
It's as simple as that. Door A or door B. How long it's going to take and how it's going to happen, you never, ever know. So one of the things that I learned is never be surprised about the outcome of anybody's illness, disease, whatever it is. Just don't ever be surprised, because you never know how it's going to work. Someone who I thought in treatment was just going to just roar through and be sober and get married and have kids and get a PhD are dead. They are dead. And those people that I didn't give them a chance in hell, I thought, oh, Jesus, oh, my God. I ran into somebody 15 years ago in a restaurant. She comes up to me and she says, hi, Bernie. Mr. Saunders. She didn't say Bernie, Mr. Saunders. She was one of the 16-year-old kids that we had in treatment that I wanted to kill. Taking a razor blade away from her in the middle of the night in the bathroom was one of my jobs. And I didn't give her a chance. And heck, she got married. She got 2 kids. She got a master's degree. You never knew. So one of the big, huge surprises in that whole field is you never, ever knew how it was going to turn out. And if you ever had any expectations, you were doomed. You couldn't work in the field. You just couldn't do it.
So how did that serve you in life for the rest of your life, knowing that you can't know?
If I'm working with a CEO of Campbell's Soup, okay, you never know whether this guy's going to have the courage to be able to lead the way that he needs to lead his way, not according to Harvard Business School or any place else or Pepperdine or whatever he's going to, but his way of being able to figure it out. You never have the expectation that they don't know what to do, because they do. Maybe it hasn't bubbled to the surface, but it's always there. So I learned with those kids and those young adults, never to be surprised. You never to have serious expectation outcomes of how it's going to work, because you're only going to get disappointed somewhere along the line, which then sucks energy out of the staff, when you have all that kind of stuff.
So I suppose it helps you live more in the moment with whatever is going on.
Yeah.
Dealing with what is instead of what should be, which is a big lesson that a lot of us still haven't gotten.
I still deal with, even with all that background and the awareness, I still deal with that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm having wonderful conversations with my 52-year-old son about Biden, about the political situation. And he's very clear that he's had enough. He can't take it. And I told him yesterday, I said, it reminds me of when Reagan was running for president, Connie and I in our 50s talked about moving to Canada. So I said, are you and Brandy, his girlfriend, are you thinking about moving to Canada? And he said, no, not yet. And so,
Bernie, I could move to Canada because I'm Canadian. So,
okay. All right.
I have that as an out anyway.
Here's to that. So that's something that it's always served me well. Never to be surprised. I talked to a friend of mine, Connie. I talked to her on the phone yesterday. It was the birthday of my dear friend, Bob. And Bob would have been 73. And Bob and I were really, really, really close. We hung out all the time. And he died of brain cancer 5 years ago, this coming Monday. He had his birthday, and then 5 days later, he died in hospice.
Wow.
And she said there was just something about, he comes from a totally different background, educationally, family, et cetera, et cetera. But there was something, she said, the two of you always had this understanding and just about each other. It was, we could talk for 2 or 3 or 4 hours and not stop.
Yeah.
So there was just something about that. So I think starting with the Peace Corps and having that experience just sort of transformed me in many ways that still serve me well today. So
what did you do after your whole drug rehabilitation stint? You know, you were, it was bought by another company, you were pushed out. Then what did you do?
I got depressed and I decided that I had to do something completely different. So I called my dad and I asked him for $500 so I could buy a lawn care. So I decided to start a lawn care remodeling business.
Okay.
By myself for the summer.
Okay.
I was just going to do it for the summer until I could find another job. It lasted for 2.5, almost 3 years.
Right.
And so I cut grass and painted houses and remodeled bathrooms and.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And in that process, that's where the corporate world started to come in. I jumped from that to the corporate world, and all based on a party that I went to, and somebody said, we're looking for somebody, blah, 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 blah.
And you said, tell me more.
I did. So I said, let's have coffee. I'd like to know more. So we had coffee, and then we had coffee again, and they brought somebody else, and we had coffee again. And so that was the start of my first corporate gig at Honeywell. And
really, so you go from sort of a handyman, lawn care, self-employed guy to being a consultant at Honeywell. So how does that's kind of crazy. So really, but somehow I can imagine it. It's sort of like you're very, very capable, and somehow it doesn't sound like you had to convince them. It's sort of like you just sort of explored your way into it in a way. There
was no convincing.
Yeah.
So I decided I was going to try to get a consulting job with them. I didn't want to do anything else. And for me to go inside the belly of the whale, that's what I call corporations, to go inside the belly of the whale. Yeah. And I thought, no way in the hell am I going to do that. So I started negotiating this piece, and the woman that I was negotiating with, the vice president of human resources, came to me one day and said, well, we have another offer for you. We are looking for a person to come inside the system for 2 to 3 years to help us divest ourselves from the defense business. And Honeywell was in the defense business. And so I said, tell me more. And they did. I went, oh, well, okay. Now, can I do this? Sure. Can I do that? Yeah. Do I have to report to anybody? No, not really. Do I have the ability to do this? Yeah, you do. And so on and so forth. So I called my dad again and I said, this is what the opportunity is. And he said, here's the deal. Take the job on Monday. And if you don't like it by Friday, quit. And so
that's great to have a dad that can give you just a simple advice like that.
It was really simple. That was Dad, down and dirty, down and simple. He was an engineer, chemical engineer. So and he was an executive. So it was just sort of start on Monday. If you don't like it by Friday, quit. So I spent 2.5 years working at Honeywell, and
I assume they paid you quite well compared to what you were doing.
Yeah, they paid me well. It was okay. Yeah. And so.
And what did you accomplish there? Did you get them out of the munitions business?
They were making torpedoes.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
In a suburb in southern south of Minneapolis, in a suburb called Hopkins. In the basement, they were building the Mark 50. The Mark 50 was part of the Red October movie.
Oh, wow.
And that was the one that was made in the basement in Hopkins at the factory. And so these were all defense people. These were Korean war veterans and Vietnam. Right. And it was deeply invested in protecting us from Russia. That was the bottom line.
Yeah.
And the Cold War was starting to wrap down, and Reagan was doing his stuff, and so on and so forth. And my job was to deal with teams that were dysfunctional and to deal with leaders that were lost and weren't sure anymore what their purpose was in their life, because they knew what their purpose was to deal with Russia. That was why they were doing it. And now that Honeywell was going to divest itself from the military, as Reagan was getting rid of air bases and so on and so forth, he was divesting also. So that was happening through the whole industry. These people were lost. They were really, really lost. And I really felt for them. It reminded me of working with the adolescent drug addicts.
Really?
Yeah. There was a lot of similarities between depression and being lost and who am I now in the world and blah, 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 that kind of scenario.
Yeah.
And so I did really well. It was good work. It wasn't easy, but it sort of came out of me. It just sort of happened. I loved going in the factory. I had to get security clearance. So here I am, anti-war, anti-gun, working with people in the defense business. And they knew that. And I was upfront about that. And they said, okay, all right, fine. I went, all right. I protested at the Chicago, convention in '68, anti-war kind of thing.
Oh, no kidding.
I was doing a photo project of the protest. Yeah.
Wow.
In Grant Park. And they sort of shook their head. So, okay.
Interesting.
Was,
so from there, what happened?
At that particular time, I got involved with Harvard. And that was the time that the learning organization was beginning to become popular. And Peter Senge had just written a book called The Fifth Discipline, if you remember that.
Yep.
Back when. And so I had an opportunity to go there for the Sloan School of Management for, I think it was a month or something like that, to spend some time with Peter and other students that were learning about learning organizations. So off I went. It was a hoot. It was great. Yeah. And I came back and realized, and I tried to convince the executives at Honeywell that they should become a learning organization. Well, how did that go for you, Bernie? That didn't fly at all. That was like, okay, go away. So I said to myself, I bet you. I had another person that I worked with. Peter Klein was a world-renowned expert in learning organizations, and so I called Peter and said, Peter, I have this idea for a book. Would you be interested? And he said yes. And so that was the beginning of the 10 Steps to the Learning Organization.
What year was that?
1991. Was the year that I approached Peter.
Okay, pre-internet.
It was floppy disk time. It was zip drives and FedEx overnight and all that kind of thing. And so we started doing this book. And he had a publisher.
What was the title?
10 Steps to a Learning Organization.
Okay, pretty straightforward.
Peter Senge's book was a little academic.
Yeah.
in nature.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make it more practical. So we just came up with this system and created an assessment. I wrote an assessment for it and so on and so forth. So, and that was the beginning of the corporate world. That was big time. That was bigger than Honeywell. It was crazy. It was insane.
So so you wrote the book, and did
Yeah.
that lead to consulting assignments in that discipline?
All over the country.
All over the country.
Yeah.
Ah.
I get calls. Can you come and help us create a learning organization? We're an addictive culture. We're just the latest. What's the latest theme? What's the latest addiction?
Well, it's a fad kind of thing.
We are
But some of, while you wrote the book, you must have thought there was legitimacy to it, obviously.
We did. We thought we had a voice. We thought that, but boy, that dealing with the publicity and the assumptions that the corporate world has about, can you come and fix this for us now? And I said, no, I can't. And doing book reviews and, oh God, I hated it. It was just, and if I had to sign one more book, I was going to throw up. It was just like, it was the big learning I got out of that was just how addictive we are as a culture, the latest fad. And we're going to compete the next guy down the street who's doing it and so on and so forth. It was just,
that will never go away. I mean, now it's AI, right? AI is a big thing, but it has a faddish thing. People are crazy about it, putting billions of dollars into it.
Oh, huge. We have a family member that's right in the midst of it, big time.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So that was what happened.
So you were going along to companies and doing trainings and selling your book and consulting. And how long did that go on?
That feeding frenzy, I call it a feeding frenzy. It's like piranhas. They were just, it was crazy. I think it was about 4.5 years.
Yeah.
And I got exhausted. I got burnt out big time. I was making phenomenal money.
Yeah. Saving it, I hope.
Saving a good amount of it.
Yeah.
And spending it on my family.
Yeah.
And my ego was really happy. In one day. Bernie's ego went, oh, yeah, okay. What was not good was my marriage. My marriage was not good.
Yeah.
The relationship with my two sons was not good.
You were away all the time?
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Take me to the airport, come and pick me up.
Yeah.
Take me to the airport, come and pick me up.
Yeah.
No, I can't come home right now, blah, 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 blah. It hurt my relationship with my dear friends. So all of that began to happen, and it started to really work me over, and I got depressed and got really in a funk with it, and I really had to back off, which I did. I came home and told Peter that I needed to back off, and he was burnt out too. He didn't like it either.
Yeah.
So
where were you living at the time?
we were living in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I discovered at some point in my career, I did a year or half a year where I did a lot of touring with my workshop, and I realized I don't like to travel.
No.
I don't like the traveling part of travel. I don't mind being at a vacation spot, but the traveling part, whatever. So anyway, it takes a lot out of you, and you're burned out. So here you are, you're burned out. You've been very successful. I can relate to that. So then what happened? I love this story because this is not the usual interview. I'm talking about a specific discipline and the how-tos of the discipline, which is cool. But this is interesting to me because I see my career trajectory. I've always had the same business, but I've always done a lot of different things, so it's sort of similar. So what was next for you?
So I went from there, and I had an opportunity. So the photography started to really, get more intense. And
Yeah, no, we didn't. We talked about the photography before the interview a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your your love of photography and how you got into that to begin with.
Freedom.
What do you mean?
It was all freedom. Part of the thing was I had this box. Now I got this thing.
Yeah, like everyone else.
I still have my camera. I still have my camera and all my good lenses. I still have those.
Yeah.
But there was something about freedom to be able to take this tool and to find statements. It was like finding something spirit oriented. So, and it was always about the surprise. One of the things I loved about film was you got that yellow box, you got the film, you took it out, you put it in this yellow box and you mailed it to Kodak in New York City. And then they would mail it back a week or two and you get a hold of that box and you never ever knew, like, it was like Santa Claus coming and giving you a gift because you never knew when you opened it up whether you were going to have crap or you're going to have one photo of 36 that was like, wow, that's really cool. So there was something.
Why did you send to Kodak versus the local pharmacy? They did better developing at Kodak or something?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. I didn't go to Walgreens and use the Walgreens system, no. But there was something. Well, you can hear it in my voice right now. There was something about the thrill of the anticipation. It was all the anticipation.
Yeah.
What I believe in magic. Okay. So there was the magic moment of wow. And I remember when I was still doing film and Jim Brandenburg, who was a friend and a neighbor. I don't know if you know Jim with National Geographic.
No.
Okay. He was a part of Geographic for years and extremely accomplished. And what was the name? I can't remember the name of the company downtown Minneapolis. When we would bring our film to them to have it developed in 2 hours. That was beyond the Kodak time. And then you would wait for the 2 hours. And then one day he was there at the same time waiting for film. And I did too. And then there was huge light tables. And you'd take those slides and you put them on the light tables. And there was always that anticipation. Can we find one that we really, really like?
Right.
And I think that's sort of the statement about my vision, my ordinary visionness, which might be a little bit, different definition, or I don't care. It's just something about the camera just allowed me to express myself in ways that I could not in any other way.
Yeah.
My mother was a very accomplished poet.
Oh.
And she and I had conversations about the similarities emotionally between poetry and photography.
Mm.
And there was always the anticipation. You never knew with my mother with 5 kids whether dinner was going to come or not, because she was looking for the one damn word to finish the poem that she'd been working on for 2 weeks.
Really?
And she could not find the word. And so, all right, kids, you're on your own. And so,
here's the hamburger helper.
And there was no McDonald's, there was no Burger King or anything down the road. And so we talked about the similarities between the surprise, the magic moment of taking a photograph or finding the word, and the gift. It's a gift. It's just a gift when that comes. And I still find it today. I still grab my camera every time I go out the door. My camera, this thing is going too, but I take my big camera with me too, because I never ever know when I'm going to run into something.
Yeah, I can relate to it. I'm into photography as well, but not to that degree.
Cool.
On the 4th of July, we have a little parade here in Boulder Creek.
Yeah.
And I go take pictures of the people watching the parade.
Oh, sure. Ditto. Yes.
And they get a picture if they're wearing red, white, and blue, which is kind of fun. And it's just fantastic. And then I post them online. So,
oh, cool. Oh, good for you. That's wonderful. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, and my this is my camera, my iPad.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I like it because I can see the big frame of the picture right there in a way that you can't, it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good.
It's good.
So you really got into photography. And I just want to mention this, below this interview, you're going to see a link to Berrnie's website. And I just looked at his website before I interviewed him. And you have some of the most beautiful nature photos I've ever seen. He has a whole series of flowers that are just absolutely stunning. They're amazing. Some are in nature, some are in the studio, obviously, and other nature photography. The thing we forget about photography is sort of what you said. Out of 36 pictures, maybe one is good.
Yeah.
With National Geographic, you see a picture and you go, oh my God, that's extraordinary. But they might have taken hundreds of pictures that wouldn't be published. So it's like, we think it's easy, but it takes so many times to find this image, and it takes a lot of patience and involvement and fun and to do that.
Jim would talk about when he would go do a National Geographic shoot, and they'd be gone for a month or so. He would shoot anywhere between 30 and 40,000 images. Film. Right. Those were the film days.
Film. It's so easy with digital comparatively. Film. Yes.
And then National Geographic would publish a program in their magazine of 12 images out of the 30,000. And that's the way it works.
So, if it's 12 out of 30,000, just about anybody sooner or later is going to have some good pictures.
Sure.
Sometimes you go, that's a really good picture. I didn't expect that picture. Just look at the nuance of that and the expression on the face or the color or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, definitely.
And that's the excitement. It's like, oh my God, look at that.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And that's the thrill of the moment.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Robin Williams. That was the thrill for him, was to do the unexpected, which he did a lot of.
Yes.
A lot of. But that was what photography was for me.
Yeah. Of all the photos I just took last week, I took one of a little baby in a carriage, sort of with their thing like this and looking up like this. And it's like, oh my God, what an amazing picture of a little girl with these big eyes. I'm trying to find the parents so I can give them I posted on social media. Is this your baby? I don't know who it is.
If you get an upload version of that, please send it to me. Email it to me.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
I would love to see it, because that's you're good for you. That's exciting. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I've been doing it for years, and it's an interesting thing. With people photography, and I suppose it's different in different places. But there's something I call the Boulder Creek smile. Oh. And the Boulder Creek smile is people are very relaxed here. People are very, and I say, hey, since you're wearing red, white, and blue, you get a photo. And they say, okay, great. And they smile, and everyone's smile is kind of the same. They're just sort of like happy to be there. It's just, here we are at the parade, and it warms your heart. So
now that's a wonderful project. That would just be fascinating.
Yeah.
The Boulder Creek smile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Kids, parents, old people.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, the great thing about photography these days is with digital photography, you don't have to do a lot to get into it. And if you really work at it, you can also get good pictures. You really can.
Right. You can.
And everyone has a billion pictures. So, I post them on my Mac, and then it's my screensaver. So the pictures are always popping up from
Right.
years back and recently, and it's great to see that.
Yeah.
So you made some money in photography, or a little bit of money, or was it always an avocation or more of a hobby?
We made a little bit of money. One of my sons, Eric, who lives in St. Paul right now, he's an artist too, very accomplished. Connie's an artist. Um, and But Connie and I started doing, shows, exhibits in the summer, doing the fair show, the art show kind of thing,
Right.
which was brutal. It's brutal work. And,
Yes, I know.
it's just brutal. It's brutal. And not only is it just a time intense thing, but you're always dealing with the weather. You never know. And so anyway,
Sure.
some terrible, terrible stories with that. So I did that for years and years and years, and did really quite well with the flower images. One of the markers I decided was that I was going to, create a voice with my flower images, and I did really quite well for that. And then Connie joined me in doing it, and then Eric joined me. So the three of us would do art shows together, and so we did fairly well until the economy hit the tank. And
What year was that?
that was in, what was the last big recession? 90. Obama no, when was that?
Just before Obama came in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everything stopped.
Yeah.
Okay. Within 2 or 3 months.
Yeah. Really?
Just this screeching halt.
Yeah.
And so people weren't buying. If they were going to buy anything, they wanted it smaller and cheaper. So
It's interesting when you're doing something like that, you see the direct impact of the economy on retail sales, because
Right.
something like that is discretionary income. It's not like buying groceries. It's like a special thing, a nice photo for your house.
It is.
Yeah.
The other thing that I found out through a contractor is that people weren't having as much wall space in their house anymore, because they was building these houses with all the windows in it.
Oh.
Never thought about that. We never thought about that.
I can relate. I have 6 big windows in this little office.
Yeah. I got this big window here too. So, it's, love the windows.
So the fairs, so after that sort of died down, what was your next move?
I went from there and did more consulting. Got involved with Kellogg and Keebler. I got back into that, doing mergers and acquisitions, and worked for 3M for a while. So I had these in Medtronic. These gigs would show up, and it would sort of spin off of each other from one to the other. Somebody would have lunch with somebody else, and then blah 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 blah, and so it's all that. Everybody who knows everybody who knows everybody. And I had been in the Twin Cities for so long that I had so many contacts and relationships with people that I didn't have to do a lot of marketing. It was just sort of self-fulfilling. It just began to happen, and that continued to grow, and that was okay. That was good. It was interesting work, and I enjoyed that.
But this was work that you did mostly in Minneapolis?
Yeah, Minneapolis, St. Paul. I would do a little bit of work, outside of the country, but not outside the country, but in the United States, but not very much. I didn't want to travel anymore.
Right. Right.
I got, it was just too tiring. I just didn't like it
Yep.
at all.
Yep.
There was a point I didn't need to do it.
Yep.
So I did that, and I was still doing the consulting in 20 years ago, still doing it.
So you're still consulting?
No.
No.
I do have a small little business. I still keep my fingers, in it, because I'm a good coach. I really enjoy coaching people one-on-one. And I had a long-term 10-year contract with Cargill Corporation. And for 10 years, that thing just went on and on and on. And I worked with 3 to 4 leaderships all over the country. And for Cargill on the phone. It was all phone stuff. That was, and Zoom really hadn't really exploded too much. It was somewhat, but it was still fairly primitive.
Yeah.
And so I did that for 10 years, and that was fun work. That was good work. That was good, and the people were just fascinating. So during that period of time,
so you did coaching in the area of business management?
It was leadership development.
Leadership development.
Right. And then I did some private people that were making a difference in their life. So when we moved here from Minneapolis to Sun Prairie, it took a year and a half to get settled in, so forth. But I still had the itch. That's what I call the itch. There was a couple of people from the book that I had done the book with my mother, The Grace of Ordinary Days. And I called them to get some guidance. And what came up with this was pre-pandemic, and one of them said, you got 2 options for coaching. One is going through trauma work, which you could do because you work with alcoholics and drug addicts. You can do trauma. The other is people that are going through transition. And right now, she said, with the pandemic and all the changes that are happening, people are going through a lot of transition. So I had worked with people in transition before on a one-to-one basis, and I thought, that would be fun. If I can get 3 or 4 clients, blah, 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 blah. So I set up a little website, lifeshift.biz. It's just a 1-page little down and dirty piece.
Yes.
No fancy kind of thing, just lifeshift.biz. And and see if I can collect some people, and I have. And it doesn't take a lot of time, and it's easy, and it's fun, and it's engaging and challenging at the same time. So
is that website still up?
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah, we'll post that.
Yeah, people can go, lifeshift.biz. So anyway,
that's good.
And I wasn't about to go through, spending a lot of time building a fancy dancy website or hiring Brent or somebody to do that. It was just like, no, I don't need to do that. I was just, so that's that's what I've been doing. And then doing the photography and, spending time with family. One of the reasons we moved here, there's multiple reasons. One was to be closer to family. Milwaukee, Wapaka, Chicago area, rather than driving the 6-7 hours from Minneapolis.
Right.
So it's a lot easier to come here. And,
where do your clients come from? Are they from the area or from the Minneapolis area more? Or
sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't
really make it. Doesn't make a difference.
As you know, in your business, it doesn't make any difference where they're at.
Sure. Yeah, I have clients all over the world.
Yeah, no, they can
which kind of surprised me. One of my biggest fans was in South Africa, of all places. And
yeah, sure, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
And people are so mobile these days.
Yes.
The moving around the world is just phenomenal.
So, Bernie, let's sum this up. You've had an interesting life. With a lot of. It's sort of like there's one thing, and the one thing you've always done what's next, where you could lend a creative hand. whether that's working with alcoholics or drug addicts, working in a yard business and a handyman business, into the corporate world, into coaching, into photography. What's the if you would say here's an underlying theme for Berrnie's life and his ordinary visionary journey, what might it be?
Follow the energy. Trust your instinct. Trust the energy fields that come your way. And don't make judgments right up front, whether it's good, bad, or mediocre.
Yeah.
Keep yourself open. Well, it's the same thing as photography. Keep yourself open to the unexpected. Always look for, like you're doing with the 4th of July photos that you're taking. That's looking for the unexpected. Right. It's not the ordinary kind of photo that people take, but I think that's where the juice is. So it's not having expectations about, if you get an invitation, consider it and see where it's going to take you. I'm not in charge. I'm not running the show at all. I'm not.
I think that's so valuable because, I think it's a mistake we've all made, is like, this is the direction I have to go.
Right.
This is what I have to do. And you narrow your aperture so much. It's tricky, though, because in some ways I focused just on self-employed professionals. Mm-hmm. I did that because those are the people I like to work with, the people I could relate to the best. But I was always trying different things, and I have this idea and that idea, and so I can relate to that.
Yeah, no, my hat goes off to you. That's great.
Yeah, wow. I wrote a book, and that helped me, and just like your book helped you. Yours tapped you into the corporate world. Mine was the self-employed world.
Yeah, and then I
loved not being in the corporate space. I loved that I didn't have to go there. But
I did the book with my mother, and and that just exploded. That was a total shock.
The book really did well?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
A poetry book that does well, that's unusual.
Well, it was poetry, photography, short stories.
Oh, I see. Right.
Did I ever send you a copy?
You did not.
I will send you a copy.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
20 years that book has been out.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's still selling?
Nope. I took it off. Oh, no, I stopped. I only have 200 copies left of 6,000.
Oh, wow.
So I took it off of Amazon. Amazon was just a scam.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I lost money on Amazon big time.
Really?
Yeah. So send me your address, and I'll send you a copy of the book.
Oh, yeah. No problem.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So, Berrnie, it's really been fun interviewing you, talking about your life, your pursuits, and I think the main thing I got from it is your openness to have conversations and explore. It's like, it was never about the hard sell. Oh, yes, I can come in. It's like, well, here's some ideas. Let's explore that.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you're working in a Jesuit school, for God's sake, or you're an anti-war person working with the munitions company. I mean, it's just so interesting.
It's been a delightful. I just feel just blessed to, for some reason, somehow, somewhere, all of this came, and I'm just thankful for it. And it's been quite a ride. And so it's been a privilege. Thanks much for the delight of having this very easy conversation, because I've done TV and other stuff before, and some of it goes, oh God, oh no, no. But this has been just a a real refreshing time. I appreciate it. And I'm happy for you that you're taking your photographs and your business is going well. And so,
yeah. Well, my business of Ordinary Visionaries is a nonprofit enterprise on purpose,
Right. Yeah.
So it's really, really fun. And now I'm starting to write more. Wrote all day yesterday.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Just for writing or for the sake?
I have a whole series of articles that I'm going to be sending out on the qualities of an ordinary visionary.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting. See, you never can give it up, can you?
No, I can't.
You're never going to be able to give it up.
But it's fun. It's like a hobby, Really
you do seem like a kid in a candy store.
That's what I feel like. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell by just looking at your eyes. You don't have to say anything. Just by whenever there's a debate on, I turn the sound off.
Ah.
What I want to see is the visual context, and that tells me so much. Do you remember between Hillary Clinton and Trump, that first debate, when he started walking around and behind her?
Oh, yeah.
Doing the power thing? That's what I'm looking. I'm looking for all of that kind of thing. Their eyes and blah, 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 blah. So I turn the sound off. And
yeah, that'll be a new thing. Watch the Ordinary Visionaries with the sound off.
It could tell you a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Connie leaves the debates. She watches for 2 minutes and then she goes and does her art.
Agonizing.
She can't take it.
Anyway, Bernie.
Anyway, it's been a pleasure. Real delight.
Thank you.
Thank you much. And keep pushing the shutter on your camera.
I will.
Always. I will. All right. Be well, Robert.
Thank you, Bernie.
Thank you.